to the Software Showcase. I am Mark Stedman, Vice President of Information Technology at Wycliffe Associates in sunny Orlando, Florida. And joining me today in the studio, as always, is Glenn Oliver, our team's project manager and all-around great guy.
Thank you. Great to be back. And also, speaking of you back, we've got Travis Wright here. Thanks for coming yet again this week to show off some new stuff today.
Yeah, we are not live, actually. I don't know if I said we were live, but we're not. We're actually recorded, so that's how it goes. But today, Glenn, I'm excited to share another AI-driven tool that's going to help with spelling. You want to give us a little background on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So once again, we had referred to earlier that we are coming from Hackathon Week, and one of our projects that showed great interest from some of the people in translation services from a previous hackathon was kind of a spell checker app. So what do you do once you have an application, you have all of your translation digitized and you want to enhance it? Well, one of the things that they could do was be able to find all of the various words and kind of count them up and then look for words that were aberrant, meaning maybe words that only happened a couple times. And those were often indicators that there might be something they want to look at. Maybe there's a spelling incorrection, or maybe it's a word that they didn't intend to use, what might be there. But that still requires a human to go through that list and check that out. And so the idea occurred to a number of us, what if maybe AI could help us with that process and maybe even shorten the amount of possible leads that somebody wanting to check the work could do? You want to tell us more about that approach?
Yeah, so one of the things that LLMs are really good for is doing knowledge work for you and being able to extract insights from massive amounts of data in a short amount of time. And so what we wanted to do was to think through how can we improve the quality assurance process and the proofing process, the checking process, so that we can accelerate Bible translation. And so we thought, why don't we take this idea that we have to check spelling, and there's other ways of doing this, but let's see if we can accelerate it using AI. And that's what we've done here with our prototype.
Yeah, what we discovered is that in a typical New Testament, there's more than 20,000 words that appear only once. We call them singletons. 20,000 words is a lot of words for people to have to check over. So what we wanted to do was figure out how to put that in an order that says, hey, these ones at the top are the ones you should specifically pay attention to first, because the AI has said these may not actually exist. Of course, one of the challenges is that most of the Bible translation work that Wycliffe Associates is involved in are in what we call low resource languages. In other words, there's very little training data for that language in the commonly available commercial models. But our hope is that languages have certain rules and certain predictabilities so that even if you don't have language data in a specific language, there are other languages regionally that follow similar patterns in spelling and things like that. And so we're going to ask the AIs to basically tell us, hey, is this word a word that exists in this language or a word that does not exist in this language? Or is it a word that is a name? And so the reason that we have that third category of names is that as we began to prototype this out and to test it, we found that a lot of words got flagged as not being a word in the language because they were a name. And so in some sense, they don't exist in the language. But actually, the AIs were often very good at saying, like, oh, it doesn't exist in this language because it's a name. So we put them in sort of a third bucket. So go ahead.
Another thing to add too, if you've played around with AI whatsoever, or even just heard about people's experiences, sometimes they say, well, sometimes it gives me good information, but sometimes it comes back wrong. And so we wanted to try to see if we could avoid that as much as possible. And so Mark came up with a clever idea of what if we actually ask that same question of multiple AIs and see if there's a consensus, if there's a trend, a pattern towards what they conclude about this singleton. And that may also help us understand, hey, most of the AIs are in agreement or disagreement about this. And that gives us even more information to help wind down that list.
A lot of people don't know this, but one of the cutting edge techniques in artificial intelligence is actually to use multiple individual models and pit them against each other to see if they can correct each other, vet each other. It's an interesting problem and an interesting solution that we're experimenting with.
Right, or as I like to tell people, if one AI is good, then 3 AIs must be better. Well, Travis, you want to show the tool a little bit?
Yeah, of course. So we land here on our page, we pick our language. Obviously here you can see some of the ones that we've been working on, just testing out. We've got just tons and tons of languages.
Basically every language that's available in our database of languages.
Yeah, exactly. So you pick your language. Here's some that we've worked on. Let's fast forward to look at the tool in real time because there's a bit of variation in processing time. So for the purpose of the video, we can see the results here for an English Bible. And here's a few examples of some typos that are just really common stuff that you might end up doing, like the word "the" is misspelled here. It's going to give you some context, show you what verse it is, what chapter. You could tell the model, is it correct or incorrect? You can get lists here of what's likely correct, what's likely incorrect, what needs review, and then also see what might be named. So a user can go through and they could organize the data in terms of what they're most interested in looking at. Review needed means that one model thought something or two, but another one did not agree. So there's some kind of disagreement here. Likely incorrect means that they all agreed it was incorrect. Likely incorrect meaning, the same thing. So you can see here some of the James, there's two S's here, something like that. Preficide, I don't know, Glenn, if you've ever preficide, but apparently Enoch did in chapter 1 of Jude. He preficide.
Don't think my denomination allows me to preficide.
If they do, you have to have somebody there to interpret your prophecy, I guess.
Yeah,
to
exactly.
interpret.
These are actually really common errors, no matter how much experience, training, or what your education level is when you're typing, especially if you're typing huge amounts of text, and a lot of it's really kind of complicated. This is going to happen really frequently. So we can use this kind of tool to be able to extract insights from a lot of data that can accelerate the Bible translation process. This is for English. Here's an example of Russian. Here in Russian, we've got a likely incorrectly spelled word. One of our developers speaks Russian, so I'll leave it to him to verify that this was indeed spelled incorrect. But you can see here it's highlighted so that you can see it in context. And our dream is really to see a tool like this be effective in a large amount of languages, a way of translators getting to the end of the road in terms of proofing, checking, and we could just hand them a tool to say, here, let's make your life so much better right now as you're checking thousands and thousands of words.
Yeah, important to note, this is absolutely a tool that's in testing. We have not actually proven that it is good at identifying incorrectly spelled words. Also, at the moment, the tool doesn't actually go in and correct the word for you. What it does is it collects either incorrect or correct, and at the end we can output a spreadsheet that then translators will have to go back and actually correct the text in either VTT Writer or whatever. But the point of it is, what we are really looking for as folks begin to field test this is, take those likely incorrects and go through and mark them as, yeah, in fact, they are incorrect, or no, it was correct. We're going to gather data from that, and we're going to figure out, hey, what's the percentage accuracy on this? Are we at like, hey, maybe 80% of these are actually coming up as suggested? Well, that's going to be really useful. If we find out that it's, as we say, worse than a coin flip, if it's worse than 50%, it may turn out that this tool doesn't really work. But the next stage that we're looking for is help in testing it. So a little bit about how the testing process would work. If you're interested in using this as a refinement tool within the refinement process, get in touch with us and say, hey guys, we're going to start our refinement work on this language. We will pre-process the language for you in advance. Here you see words processed 167 out of 209. If this were an actual full testament, you would have however many out of about 60 to 80,000 words depending on. So we need to work on that for about a week before you need to be able to use it. It may not take a whole week, but it takes time because we actually are only batching these in sets of 15, 20, 30, 40 words at a time. The system is doing the work, but it does take time. So let us know. We'll pre-process it for you. It will fill in how many incorrects, likely incorrects, and so forth. All those will fill out. And what we would ask you to do is get with your team and go through the likely incorrects and tell us, yeah, they were right or wrong. If that's going pretty well, then start looking through the likely corrects and just give us a thumbs up. Yeah, these were all correct, and that was good. That's going to help us get those statistics where we know whether we should do additional development on this tool, or if at some point we come back and we go, yeah, it just doesn't work.
Right.
Travis, one thing I would like to show in the settings page is that we have a number of available AI systems that we can test against. So it uses 3, and the 3 that we are, I think, sort of defaulting to are Claude. In this case, this one's doing Qwen, and then we were doing OpenAI. But you can see we have maybe 15 models there that we can actually throw results against. And the reason for that is that definitely there's a variance in familiarity or training data for these models. And so if we get really bad results, we may go ahead and run it against other models and see what's going on.
Hence the reason why we'd love you to involve us in the process and let us do this hard work for you. We're usually try to stay as up to date with all these models, and they're releasing new stuff almost every couple of weeks. Right. And rather than have you keep up with all the news, leave that to us. And also, like we said, we can, we know the difference between these models, and so we can suggest them and pre-process them for you to save you a lot of work.
Yeah. The other piece that we're still working on is right now we're taking 3 yeses or 3 nos as sort of the needs attention and the probably correct. And right now, if we get a 2 and 1, either way, we are just putting those in a bucket that's a little bit like we're not really sure what to do with this. We are very interested in looking at those where we have 2 that say that it is a word that's correct and 1 that's wrong, or vice versa, to figure out, well, is alignment between 2 of them actually going to be valid enough? So we want to get through the initial testing of, having full alignment 3 and 3, see how that looks, and then maybe begin to also investigate whether the 2 and the 1s yield any fruit for us or not. So that would be a little bit down track. We're very interested in this. We want to create tools that help teams with their refinement process. Spelling's complicated. It's a huge set of data that they have to look through, and we just want to be able to help put things in front of them.
You can think of the tool as like a car. The different models are like different engines we can put in the car. There's a car. It can be driven. We'll just find out as we put different engines inside of the car what makes it fastest and best. So each one of these models is like a different engine, basically. And as new models are released, this same tool that isn't maybe very effective with Claude 3 here may actually end up being remarkably effective when a new GPT model comes out or something like that. So,
or what it knows about languages and neighboring languages.
Right.
Yep.
So we're excited about it.
Yeah. Lots of cool stuff going on here. Anything else, guys, before we go? All right. Thanks again for joining us. Please like and subscribe, and we will see you next time.